Hello and welcome to Wendy's Workshop. Today I want to share some tools that I just received and tell you a little bit about them as well as the company that makes them. I will be sharing several products with you, but I know the Self-Mending Cutting Pad is going to be the most exciting, so I'm going to save that one for last. I'm going to start with the iBrush mini blending brushes. Well, these may look a lot like the foam daubers that we all know so well. They're actually brushes. If you attended Creativation this year, you may have seen these brushes at the iCrafter booth. iCrafter is a brand new company that just premiered at Creativation this year. Once you see these blending brushes and the Self-Mending Cutting Pad, you will see that although the company itself is new, Linda Canase, the creator behind the products, is not. They debuted with some very innovative products, and I was lucky enough to be there working in the booth with them to show off these products. These brushes come in a set of 10, so that you have one for each color family. Mine are a little stained because I use them a lot. But if you take a look at this one, you can see the bristles as I go across it. Again, because it is a brush, it's not going to wear out and fall apart like the foam daubers. I've had foam daubers that I had to throw away before I could even use them because they just disintegrated. These you can also wash. I have washed mine in warm water with a drop of Dawn. And although they did remain stained, they were clean and no color transferred. That means you can use these for many different inks as long as you wash them in between. You can either use them as you would a dauber on your finger, or you can stack a couple of them together and use it like an applicator. That's how I like to use them. Because they're small like the daubers, you can get a concentrated color into a really tiny area, but without the harsh line that you get with foam. I'm going to show you on the cherry blossoms that I have here, but first I'm going to show you how clean this one really is. Even though it's stained pink, you can see on my towel that when I rub it back and forth, no color transfers to the towel. Okay, let's give it a try. I'm going to use a little bit of distress ink and see how I can get it just in the center without coloring the entire flower and how there are no harsh lines. This is due to its size and because it's a brush applicator. And by the way, the flowers that I'm coloring here are also by iCrafter, and they are called Cherry Blossom Bursts. This is a fun, versatile die set that you should absolutely check out. Now I'm going to say here that I did receive these products for free, but that's because I worked in the iCrafter booth for the show. They did not send these products to me with any agreement that I do a video, and I don't make any money if you click through and buy anything. While I do receive a small commission when I deal with retailers, here I'm simply just excited by the products and I wanted to share them with you. This next item is called the IPress Burnisher and Pad. It is a multi-purpose tool that I find really useful. The tool has what I would call a stylus for dry embossing on one end and a bone folder like burnisher on the other. Not only do you get both tools, but you get the foam for dry embossing as well. Now I'm going to tell you, remember this journal I created in my last set of videos? Well, I was really wishing I had this tool because it would have come in handy to burnish around the die cuts on the fabric cover. Let's go ahead and try it on the cherry blossoms. We're going to put the blossoms on the foam pad and use the tool in the center to create a little bit of dimension. When you press the center of the flower in a circular motion, it sort of pulls those petals up towards you, giving you a great look for any project you might have. Now I'm going to flip it around and use the other end. This is a bone folder and would be used like any other bone folder, as you can see here. The benefit of this tool is that it has more than one use. Even the bone folder, because it has corners instead of smooth edges, it can be used, as I showed you on the journal earlier, to burnish into all of the little nooks and crannies. All right, next up is the iGrip tweezers. These are reverse tweezers and have a flat area at the top. By reverse tweezers, what I mean is that they open when they're squeezed and remain closed in their normal state. If you take a look at these tweezers, you can see how great the grip is. My biggest beef with other reverse tweezers is that they don't hold well enough for me to tie a bow. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to use my burnisher and tie my bow around it just as an example. You can see that once I start to tie my bow, I can then slip in the tweezers to hold it while I finish. It's kind of like having another hand. With other tweezers of this sort, I found that the grip is not tight enough to hold it secure while I tie my bow. You can use these anywhere you might a third hand to hold something. Sometimes when I glue down an item and I don't want to hold it all the way until it dries, these are my saving grace. Just look how nicely I was able to time my bow. Okay, the next item is the retractable die pick. You would use this just as you do any other die pick. The great thing about this one is that it is retractable so that you can keep it closed and safe when not in use. No more grabbing into your supply bin and stabbing yourself with a die pick. So I've saved the best for last. This is the Self-Mending Cutting Pad. What I mean by that is that after you die cut into this cutting pad, it mends itself. That means no deep gouges, no warping, no cracking sound, and no replacing your cutting mats as often as you do now. This innovative product will cut down on the number of cutting pads that you need to buy for your machine. I wish I could give you a percentage, but the iCrafter crew is still using the first samples that they had made and have not had to replace them yet. You would use this as your bottom cutting pad with your blade and paper against the pad, and use a regular acrylic cutting pad on the top. And while the sandwich may vary depending on what die cutting machine you use, you will see here that I do not shim or adjust my sandwich at all, and I still get a clean, detailed cut. Let's give it a try. Here I'm using my Spellbinders Platinum machine, a Sizzix magnetic base plate, and my iCrafter iMend cutting pad, 3 completely different manufacturers. I'm going to be cutting into a piece of plain cardstock with the iCrafter Cherry Blossom Burst die from earlier. You can see that it's a pretty detailed die. On top I will use a regular acrylic cutting pad and run it through as I usually do with no shims or changes to my sandwich. I do run it back through, but that was more for ease so that I didn't need to move my camera. As you can see here, it cut cleanly, even the fine detailed area. Well, now that we know it cuts, let's take a look at the cutting pad. I'm going to get as close to the camera as I can so that you can see the cut lines, because they won't be this visible for long. The only reason you will be able to see the lines at all is because the tiniest bits of paper get into the grooves before it mends and remain on the mat. You can take a stiff toothbrush to clean it out before it mends, but that's extra work, and it'll still mend itself without doing that. What you see now is me leaving it to mend while I clean up my work area. Okay, it's now been about 10 minutes and I'm back to check the cutting pad. You can see that the first thing I do is run my fingernails over the area where I cut. It amazes me that you can barely feel the lines. We all know what it would feel like if you cut into a regular cutting pad. The cut lines are almost invisible, but I'm going to hold it up to the camera and I'm going to try and get it to where you can actually see the old cut lines so you can see that it is the same cutting pad. If you look closely, you can see remnants of those cut lines. And when I did clean up later in the evening, I couldn't even feel the lines with my nails at all. Well, those are all the products I had to share with you. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm going to leave a link to the iCrafter website in the description box below. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you head off to shop. Thanks again.